This is the place where you get fast, quick tips and tricks for almost any area of Fortnite. Welcome back to episode 8, and I'm breaking down building, editing, and aiming all in that order for you guys to learn from, all timestamped down below. My name is Ken, and I can assure you that there's going to be at least one thing you haven't heard before, or maybe even something you forgot about. But first, the sponsor of this video goes to Buff. Essentially, if you never heard about it, it's a place to redeem lots of different items like Steam cards, Xbox cards, PlayStation cards, and other things like gaming hardware, all for free. You download it to play, and you do challenges in the game that earn you buff points. It's super easy to use, and even I tried it out and downloaded it on my PC. It's completely safe because it's an authorized app of Overwolf, and just to top it off, you don't just have to play Fortnite or one game. There's a wide variety of games stemming from Fortnite, Valorant, Dota 2, PUBG, and more. It does not affect your gameplay, and all you have to do is keep it running in the background while you're playing any of the games. If video games have ever gotten boring or stale for you, this is where Buff comes in so you can have some actual challenges to play for. Do yourself a favor and check out Buff for free using the link in the description below. I'm going to be honest with you, this video is semi-long, but for a reason. Every single tip is really detailed to the point where you're not going to be lost after watching it. Without further ado, let's get into tip number 1. To be the best builder, you should have all your building binds on separate fingers if you play mouse and keyboard, so that you can mash all the binds at once. This is quite literally the best and most optimal way to set up your keybinds so you can have an advantage and maybe place the builds first. To go from noob to pro when building. The one thing that you need to make sure of is that you cover all your angles while building going forward. Whether it's doing a simple retake to go up for height or just ramp rushing someone who's in front of you. Keep this in mind because especially for chapter 3, third parties are everywhere. Your cones need to be your best friend when building. Every time I build fight, I'm practically resting my finger on the cone bind so that I can try and stop people from going up the height or maybe get an angle to piece control them. This is what gives me a massive advantage in fights, and especially in my gameplay. If you watch me, I place cones in 1v1 fights probably more than I place walls. As you're building, piece controlling, doing anything on Fortnite, when it comes to having your map out, people will look to spray your face off. Try to not make it a habit in chapter 3 to stay very close to the walls or stairs you're trying to edit, because that's the most common spot that people will shove their SMG straight up your ass. What I recommend you to do is try to edit from more than one box away, so if they charge at you, you can place builds to block them. Especially in today's meta, everyone knows when you get these two pieces right here that they're gonna get double edited on. From now on, always try to make it a habit to place a stair, then a floor, and then do the double edit down. The reason why I think this edit's way more optimal than using a cone is because when you use a cone, they know for a fact it's a double edit. When it's a stair, they could just think you're trying to go up for height. From the other perspective, I think it makes it a little bit more challenging about whether or not you're going to height, which in turn makes you harder to hit. This right here is how you're going to get good clips in real games. You need to remember to not be fast, but to be as consistent as possible whenever you're edit coursing someone. For some, you may need to go slower than others, but you need to practice edit coursing while trying to link multiple builds back to back to back without messing up. The easier this gets, the more time you're going to have to think about the right edit after you full box someone. First step is to do the edit smooth. Next step is to do it behind cover so you don't get hit too much as you go for the clip. A lot easier said than done, but good luck. I switched all my binds around recently, and this is the one drill I do to relearn double editing and full boxing. Especially with double movement, you just wall across like this and practice doing these motions right here without messing up. Not messing up is the most important part. The speed will come over time, but you need to remember the actions first before going fast. Sometimes as I do it, I randomly act like I just got double edits on someone to simulate that quick box. One thing I do that limits me from getting really angry at myself when I practice and mess up, in a situation like this where I'm doing lots of building back to back, I start bot walking some edits and full running through others. This is yet again another tip I use to be consistent and fast at the same time. By this time in chapter 3, this is the one retake that you should be more than just familiar with. Practice placing the cone with high walls above it instead of trying to double edit through just like this. This makes piece control from below way easier and protects your angles so much as you build. I practice this every single time I free build because I use it in my games a lot. Some people still abuse their mats too much in chapter 3. As you ramp over people, you can conserve mats by not placing a full ramp rush with floors and walls. Unless they're really far away, you can keep it nice and simple to get where you need to be. If you want to learn how to build in the right spots, you should understand exactly when and where you can play around natural cover to help you get kills. I have to say that this is one of the most overlooked parts of Fortnite. Using random posts, doors, or even really abusing angles on the walls you already have built is some of the best ways to get kills in real games. What really separates that pro from that average player is the second they box fight them, they almost swarm them in like Slither.io. You guys know that snake eating game where you get bigger and bigger the more circles you eat? Think about as you box fight someone, you want to attack a wall and go in a 360 around them as you're trying to pre-box. This is 1, how to force people into bad decisions, and 2, end the fight even faster. If you don't know this right here, you're definitely behind on the building techniques in Fortnite. Hands down, one of the best moves anyone could do. It's as simple as side jumping right here, and this helps me in every aspect of Fortnite because I can either piece control or get height. It's not really so much about doing the high walls and just calling it that, but it's more so about how you're able to piece control from the wall above you, and this is what helps me get height every time. My absolute goated friend Slight does this a ton, but especially if you have lower slower ping on Fortnite, try to remember when you take someone off guard or by surprise to claim not just the wall, but a stair and the wall at the same time to get even better piece control and end the fight even faster. You're definitely going to be surprised about how much this can work if you don't do it already. This right here, hands down, is one of the most common mistakes that so many people don't do when they box fight. Always look to shove cones in your enemy's box when they have nothing inside. As you run up, toss a quick cone in their box, and as you go to take the wall, it's going to give you more time to try and grab it. Even when you're box fighting someone horizontally and you're in the air, it's the same exact concept. Unless you're brand new to the game, you should not be the guy who still panic tunnels in Fortnite. Usually the people that still do this don't really go out of their way to practice it a lot, which is the reason why they mess up under pressure. Even if you don't care that much about Fortnite, if you can spend 10 minutes before you actually start playing practicing how to tunnel away correctly, you will last way longer in your fights and have a way better chance of winning. Here's one of the main reasons I think people still might suck at building in 2022. The main mistake I see in people's gameplay is how close they position themselves as they free build. Next time you watch any player on Fortnite who builds really well, pay close attention to see how they free build and how they position themselves as they're free building, so you can go in, practice it, but do it at a slower pace, so that way you can build up to be the player that you're watching. Back in the day, I used to watch FaZe Sway at 0.25 speed to try and study his retakes and see how he was doing them so good. I saw a player and ended a fight in 15 seconds by doing this one simple move. When I drop down on his wall, I'm instantly swinging to try and grab it, but when I don't, I instantly move off that wall and create a new way to attack his box. I do that every single time I box fight someone. It gives them no chance to edit, and I set up another play to try and throw builds inside his box. I should have done a more optimal edit, but this is how I wrap this fight up instantly. This is a complete cycle play that tons of top tier pros use in their fights. You should really keep in mind using your shotgun or sniper as a battering ram to run through walls and exploit right through them. With a full sprint, you can run right through their wall even if they're holding it. Or now, even in chapter 3, I'm trying to slide in on ramps that just so happen to be placed from a previous fight to run in at a player's face. Anytime I can get into a player's box, I take the risk. Here's one crazy move that is yet so simple to do but unrecognizable unless you've seen it done in the right position before. Being in a box fight like this, it can be sort of stressful at times. What I like to do so that I can get height or even block off enemies so I can heal is this play right here. Just chilling in the box and waiting for the right timing to edit the top part and place a stair and jump out to do whatever I want to do. Here's one of the best ways I see to try and crank up a little bit, get some healing off, and then get back into the fight. This all has to be done super quick, otherwise you're gonna look silly. Right here I'm showcasing a few drills that I use every single day I hop on Fortnite to help with my building mechanics and learn the building grid better so I feel more comfortable when I hop into arena. This right here is the classic stair, cone, edit cone, place floor, and rinse and repeat. This helps me get used to pressing each bind at the exact moments when ramping up. Really good with forcing yourself to get better at timing. Next, this is a move where you double ramp up, cones above your head, flip the ramp, and place high walls all around you to block angles. Then you could continue getting height, and this really helps me never get stuck on stair edits, and it's just another way to get used to practicing high walls. Boxing up others, even with half piece control, has never gotten more easier in my life once I started having this mindset. I look to place cones above walls anytime I see an enemy in one of these boxes around my character. I just keep tracking them to as far as they want to go out, creating mini half-built homes to line up good right-hand peaks. No matter if you're on controller, keyboard, mobile, switch, the second you start learning this motion in fights, everything you do will become way easier in build fights because you've learned one of the best methods to block exposed angles. Just make sure you do this exact move and you'll find it way easier to win. Definitely advanced, but worth the struggle once you get it down. If throughout any point in time you see yourself building and you notice that you're not so good at one thing, remember exactly what that is so you can practice it over a week or two. I sucked at double edits and boxing when I first started, but over the course of 3 weeks on my new input, I did it before bed and in the mornings, and I've gotten so much better just doing it for like 15-20 minutes. Same thing with triple editing to the side. I was really bad at that, but I did it over the course of some time and I've gotten better. This is the strat I use to take it little by little, not stress out too much, but over time I'll see the improvement. As you build, you want to throw off enemies with random stairs and cones to mislead them into thinking you're going to one direction, but in fact you're going in a different direction to get the height. This is what makes tracking people as they're building up to you really hard, and especially if they build protectively, you can constantly crank to them and get them nervous, and as the player who is seeing this, they're probably going to get clipped. One quick thing I learned about triple edits over the course of the past 3 months. If you want to never place a cone in this spot right here after you triple edit, make sure that you place the cone first and then the floor. Doing it in this order will make it so you'll never turbo build a cone as you're trying to do the triple edit, and you'll turbo build the floor instead. This means that you'll be able to place a stair on top and continue going over even though you technically messed up. Have this mentality of never walking into any potential boxes while building. When you see crisscross ramps, always try to avoid them and go for height. And when you get coned or anything of that nature, I always try and place a floor and stair and try and ramp with high walls out to the side. When you get coned, look to keep your momentum so that you can continue going around that and not just get stuck and be forced on the low ground. This is something advanced players use all the time, but it's a simple tip that no one talks about. If you find yourself constantly getting piece try to create separation in your build fight so that you're the one doing the piece, and at the same time you're going to be avoiding the piece control. This isn't as simple as go practice double edits. It's definitely going to take some time to learn how this can work correctly, but me telling you this should be the first step in the process. The fastest way I got good at building was literally doing the simplest, oldest trick in the book. I simply go into creative with a gun and practice all different types of drills and combos that I know I'll use in real games. If it's something completely unrealistic, I don't even bother doing it. Then to get used to timing, I practice 1v1s against players in creative. This is my most frequently asked question. I don't play realistics because I don't struggle with abusing my materials, ammo, and running out of loot. I struggle with placing and timing things correctly. That's why 1v1s and realistics are not my thing. To get better, don't use the shotguns that aren't in the meta. Everyone uses a pump in creative and I get it, but if you're looking to practice in creative, you might as well just use the striker or auto shotgun. The grip you have on your mouse, controller, or whatever else you're using is the most slept on thing when it comes to being consistent on Fortnite. Practice being consistent with how you sit in your chair, how you hold your mouse, or how you hold your controller, or anything else that comes into your mind when you think about getting on the game to develop good habits early on. If you want to learn how to be a good builder, you need to learn how to have patience at the end of the building that you do. People I see will non-stop piece, but have a 10-cent finish. Even I fall habit to this, but after you go crazy with the building, do stuff exactly like my man Slight right here, where he reacts to his enemy after he finished building to kill him without taking damage, going completely out of your way to avoid getting shot first so that you can be the first one to shoot. From now on, the next time you play Fortnite and you're trying not to get pieced up, remember to look sharply down to escape piece control. You might need a slightly faster sense, but doing this will help you learn how to play on the edge of builds in your fight, which is what every advanced player does. One of the best tips that I can give for building is to shove builds through any type of edit your opponent makes. Even when I'm absolutely pinned with my back against the wall, this is what I do every time to give myself a few seconds to try and edit and do something new or escape the fight altogether. That right there covers 33 tips and tricks for building. If those helped you out, consider using code KenBeans and drop a sub. We got editing and aiming next, so let's get into this. Here's a strat that my mod told me about that I really needed to start doing in more of my box fights. You could take this wall in this exact position and have complete cover while trying to grab it. I definitely recommend to try this on your friends and maybe even try it in real games if you get good at it. Here's a good edit that was popular a while ago, but it's still worth knowing because lots of people don't use it. It's a sneaky little pop shot where you jump up on the cone just like this and you can shoot above the wall. Knowing things like this, just being aware of it will come in handy when you least expect it. Snap to it. You got a guy weak, but you're about to make the edit that could lead you to get shot. Every time you're in this situation, the safest play to get the kill is to make sure you don't take a big shotgun to the face. Confirm the edit from far away and then go for the shot just like this. Being too close will make you lose more health for the third party that you know is going to roll up. Getting boxed by a sweaty player, this is a mistake that lots of people do not do when they realize the wall is not theirs. Every single time you're trying to be aggressive in a situation like this, whenever I see the wall is not there and I know they're about to make an edit on me, I'll look to the bottom left to place a stair above me. Then I claim the wall to my left and edit out so that way I'm completely safe and no one will get piece control of me. This is what you call counter piece control, and it's one of the most important things in a box fight, especially in a situation like this. Which one's better, editing with your gun or your pickaxe? Especially if you're an old player, I know it's a habit to edit with your pickaxe. Because I was able to switch binds, I realized that as I was editing, I always edit with my shotgun instead of my pickaxe. Sometimes you can't completely build with your map out all the time to grab certain edits. That's exactly why every time I play Fortnite, I never take out my pickaxe while I'm editing. This is because that means I'll have to press another button to take out my shotgun. Especially if you're on controller, I would always edit with my shotgun if possible. Never edit with your pickaxe, but for the most part, if you can help it, try and edit with just your map and then take out your shotgun last second. In some situations, you can't edit with your map out to grab the right edit. That's why you always see me editing with a shotgun if I ever do take something else out. I got so much more consistent with my edits just by practicing my double edits 15 minutes before I go to bed. I practice doing this all the time because having clean double edits is one of the most important things on all of Fortnite. Everyone talks about limiting crosshair placement and we all know about it, but really hyper focus on that aspect as you do it, because the better you get at that, the more consistent your edits are going to be across the board. I'm not sure where my mod got this from, but he informed me of this double edit move that's super useful. You pair this with sliding, and as you open up the cone, you run through to the end of the floor, you edit it, drop down, and now you have this position behind the enemy. It can really take someone off guard, and it's a super unique way to get a kill quick with the sliding. Time the floor edit the right way and you'll go right through, and then you'll be able to shoot them. If you choke a lot on double edits or triple edits, I literally will lift my fingers up higher on both my mouse and my keyboard to edit. Lifting them up higher allows me to count the motions so I can get more edits back to back to back. That's one god tip that I never heard someone mention before. It teaches you to go slower at first so you can remember the actions later on and do them faster. There's tons of optimal ways to mongrel classic in Fortnite, but here's one of them that I really like to use because it's quick and protective. And if you do it at the right time, you can get them to drop in the air and get a clean kill. All you gotta do is mongrel classic just like this on the bottom right side. You flip the stair and play off the wall for a right hand peek. If you do manage to catch the guy falling as you do the edit, it will look way cleaner. Just make sure that you're really playing off the right hand peek to get that extended angle and not take damage. Common mistake editing tip right here. If you do any edit on Fortnite and you constantly find find yourself overshooting the edit as you go to confirm it, that means your sense is too high and it needs to be lowered. I see beginners make this mistake literally all the time. And vice versa, the same thing applies. Common mistake 101s for editing is that if you undershoot edits constantly, this is also a sign you should raise your sense. I personally think a mid to slower sense is better. Sometimes too slow is just as bad as too fast. Do not get caught by being that guy who holds edits trying to make the most optimal one and is pressed right against the wall. In this season in chapter 3, you don't want to be caught having your map out for too long because it will cause you to get sprayed to death and not be able to shoot back. The mindset of sprayers is to look for people that have their map out so you can spray them when they don't have a shotty. Everyone talks about editing, but the most important part to it is trying to learn how to do it from more than one box away. Being a spray meta, this could definitely help you a ton from not getting lit up like a Christmas tree, and if you want to practice it, Raider released version 2 of his mechanics map, and you go into a situation where every time you reset, it puts you in a new position to edit from further away. Code for this is on screen right now. As you go to confirm edits, but especially window edits, look to strafe really hard to the left so you can dodge that first shot and then go in with your own shot. Yet again, another small tip and trick that lots of advanced players use on Fortnite, and it's also saved my butt millions of times. Here's one way you can edit while box fighting to take people off guard. Sit on a stair edited cone just like this, reset it, and edit the wall really quick. Lots of people know about this, but even still, it works in arena, and you don't have to edit open just like this. It could just be as simple as a window edit. Small piece of advice is to not do the same exact move on the same player more than once. If you're the guy who struggles to edit down really fast, focus on editing 2 pieces at a time. So it's a quick 1-2 motion, 1-2. Keep trying your hardest to always edit 2 as fast as you can, and then the better you get at it, the more you'll be able to put them together even faster. Don't get caught up in trying to edit more than 5 times in a row. If you're not that good at it, it's going to make you overwhelmed. A great way to lay some damage onto a player that chases you into a box is to hold this peak right here. Editing anything you can, whether it's a stair or a cone, hiding behind a right-hand peak is a super way to get shots when you're playing with low HP. After you complete a right-hand peek in Fortnite, a really good strategy is just sit there and let the enemy bake in the box before you shoot. Almost every single time I have this top row wall edit like this, I sit in front of it so they guess, trying to time my shot of when I'm going to shoot. That way, they'll never be able to hit me back in time and I'll have the advantage. Here's a situation where you can hug the wall and actually be okay with it. The most effective way to get faster at editing, in my opinion, is to try and conquer the hard edit courses to spam as much editing as possible. Lots of people say it's too hard, but there's also people who stick with it anyway and see the results at the end of the month. Raider's version 2 of his mechanics map has a piece control tunneling course. This is also what I use to try and perfect my editing to get even faster. Code on screen somewhere right now. Editing, you gotta mention confirm edit on release, and I think lots of people have started to join this side of Fortnite. It makes the whole process way easier in my opinion, but there's definitely pros and cons. I've been using this for about a little over a year now, and I can safely say that it has never been the reason I died in a fight. I wouldn't recommend changing it during tournament season, but I would definitely look into it in the future. Martas made this move popular, and it might not be the one you're actually thinking about. If you're playing on the low ground and you know a player is going to jump down on your box, always try and claim the floor piece to edit them down. This is one of the most slept on things in all of Fortnite. You do this, you instantly shoot them, place a wall, run around the box, and then go for a right hand peek just like I did. This is one of the best moves in Fortnite. No matter who you are, you need to use this. Dive TV and I talked about this tip for a very long time now, and if you still don't try and practice Mongrel Classics behind a window edit, you should definitely force yourself to get used to this as fast as possible. Goes without saying that it limits 50/50s, but then again, there's other optimal ways to use Mongrel Classics depending on the situation. Just as a general rule of thumb, being aware about this will not hurt you. Use this play right here if you're ever trying to get someone to make an edit on you. Try to constantly switch between your pickaxe and back really quickly. If they don't take the bait, just pressure them by trying to take the wall one swing at a time. It's a win-win for you because if they never make an edit, you're going to be able to try and claim the wall, and if they do, you're always going to have first shot behind a right-hand peek already. Remember that whenever someone double edits on you, to read them correctly and shove a wall in their face to interrupt the whole process and give yourself some piece control. In almost every single fight across the board, this is definitely the best way to escape a sticky situation. As you go to pre-box someone, a common bad habit that I see people do is edit the wall just like this. Every single time you do this move, you need to make sure that you do a window edit or do the edit where it opens the bottom 4 tiles so the wall doesn't break. It's one of the most stressful things when you perfectly predict them, but the wall breaks and you can't get piece control. Stop yourself mid-edit if you ever make an edit that you know is either 1, gonna lead to a 50/50, or 2, even worse, edit on a player who has a pump lined up to your face. Whenever I catch myself, I feel good because I know I'm stopping the bad habit in its tracks. You gotta keep a positive mentality that just because you caught yourself doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means that you took the first steps to realize what was happening midway through. Common mistake 101 for editing is to open and edit on a player when you have absolutely nothing in your box. Lots of times, the best way to keep pressure up on enemies is to stare them off to get even more piece control, even though it looks like I'm brainlessly keying in front of their wall. I'm baiting them to open up so I can get a quick kill. If you got a player on top of your box, think quick. Lots of times I don't have a cone or stair in my box because I'm waiting for them to come to the wall in order for me to place it. They hold their map out just like this, and this is the absolute best case because all I have to do is edit open and pump them in the mouth. It's a last second surprise shot that takes tons of people off guard. Most people nowadays will reset the wall, then go to make another edit, but one of the things that lots of players will leave out from their fights is not feeling comfortable resetting and making a new edit all in in one motion. Sometimes resetting and making a new edit right in front of the enemy's face gives them just enough time to time it and shoot you. One guy who still does this a decent amount is Nick30. Back in the day, I asked Raider for a unique clip to put in a video. This is a move that he showed me that's very useful. If you got a guy below your double edit, you jump up and get a good clean shot just like this. Get better at editing. Practice just editing one wall throughout some time in your practice over and over because it's super useful to practice resets and getting faster. Back in the day, I used to just log on, open up my creative, and just sit there and edit a wall for like 10 minutes. It sounds a little nerdy, but I guarantee that lots of other people have done this as well. I've been seeing more and more pro players using this move throughout Fortnite. Just because you're below someone, this could be the best time to piece control them. What I do is look to claim double edits out the side that I think they're gonna run out of. I double edit them down and look to shoot them as they're falling. Sometimes if you're lucky enough, you can line up a whole full box. Super useful, and when you know the storm is on their back and they're gonna run into a certain direction, I do this move a lot. This right here is the best technique to take someone's wall, especially in sweaty fights. Sweaty players like my man Jivin TV are doing this all the time in solo cash cups. Box up around the player like this and just constantly bait swing your pickaxe and be ready for them to make an edit. No matter what, if you play the angle correctly, you will always have a counter to what they do. If you struggle in solo cash cups fighting people, I would definitely recommend trying this out. That's the editing portion of this video done. If you're looking to become a complete aiming god, just stay tuned for these following tips. Literally everything you need to know about aiming down to the very last tip. Across the board, the lower the sense, the better aim you're gonna have. So many people come to me saying they can't hit shots. This is the first thing I tell them to do because I think the best way to go about playing Fortnite is to start out being able to line up a pump shot. You might need to lower your targeting sensitivity. This setting in Fortnite can't be too low because then you can't track people close up while aiming down. It should never be too high to the point where you think it's faster than your normal sense when you're not aiming down. The whole point of having a separate sense when you aim down is so that it could be slower and more accurate. Scope sensitivity in Fortnite, I like not to have too slow because I can also sometimes do quick flick shots as I'm aiming down with my sniper. If you have it too slow, you'll never be able to quick scope someone ever, and you're gonna look like a snail trying to line up snipe shots. The best aiming tip you'll ever hear is to know that Raider released his new aim training map on Fortnite that literally looks exactly like a Kovacs routine. For the people who don't know what Kovacs is, let me tell you, this is definitely the best option to practice. So if you're on console, you definitely want to use this. Code's gonna be on screen right now. You gotta be an absolute psycho not to aim train with music. Unless you aren't on PC, listening to music while you aim train is one of the best ways to kill time and make it more fun. Speaking of fun, aim training on Kovacs itself, in my opinion, if you have it, is the best form of practice because there's a leaderboard where you can compete to the best score and outplace friends. If you have them added on Steam, then you'll see them on the leaderboard. This is what I try to do at least 1 to 2 times out of the week for only like 15 minutes. Kovacs is $10, I think, but sometimes there's sales and it's literally for free. Nerves is the #1 reason why you will miss shots in Fortnite. The faster you get over about not being confident in fights, the better your aim is going to be across the board. How I got over it was by believing that I don't care what happens. Having this screw it mentality no matter who I play or who's in my game on Fortnite has made me 100% better at the game. Try to study the best times to aim down in fights with other players. Not only will the spread be tighter, but it also makes it easier to hit shots considering your target sense should be lower than your actual sensitivity. So that means when you aim down, that sense should be slower than when you're not aiming down and spinning around. No matter what you do on Fortnite, especially in creative, practice crosshair discipline by taking a little extra time to line up the headshot instead of relying on randomly flicking. Doing this over and over will yield results as long as you're okay with taking damage at the start because you're going to be slower to line up the shot. The better you get at it, the faster it will be, but you're going to realize that you're actually muscle memory training than lining up the headshot instead of randomly flicking. People rely on their muscle memory to just randomly hit flick shots when it should be more calculated than that. Practice lining them up before you start randomly flicking across the board every single time. That right there is how you're going to hit heavier shots while trying to flick on people. On a controller, on a mouse, on your sisters, you should focus on having a tight grip when aiming. Make sure the thing is snug in your hand so that you can replicate that every single time you touch the game. Building up that same muscle memory pattern will help you be more efficient with your aim. On keyboard, to have the best aim possible, what I like to do is use my entire arm as much as I can. It's a lot easier to control the mouse this way compared to being a wrist aimer. You're going to be able to be more accurate from longer range because the sensitivity is going to be spread out along your mouse pad. Even if you watch Tfue on Apex today, he is known for his crazy aim. He uses his entire arm because it's a lot better. Some of you might not change your mouse pad recently, but if you're struggling from distance, you could try cleaning it and you can look up a video about the best way to do it because sometimes you can damage it. You can get a new one or you can add mouse slides to your mouse so that it's smoother when you move really short distances. This is a tip from Old Player FN. He talked about a stupid thing that when I thought about it, it brings me more confidence on Fortnite as well. It's to make sure that your fingernails are trimmed whenever you go to play games. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. You feel better with shorter nails holding your mouse, pressing any buttons on your controller or keyboard. The lazy way of getting better aim on Fortnite. It's the oldest excuse in the book. Lots of people, including me, have said this on stream. It's simply just to play the game, and the idea is that the more and longer you play, the more practice you will get shooting people, which in turn turn will make your aim better over time. We all know that there's no shortcut to success, so practicing will obviously speed things up tremendously. Aim on Fortnite, the Ranger AR is absolute trash bag from up close. This thing is rarely even good, even if you're actually kissing another player, because the bloom is literally that bad. Also, a while ago, Epic nerfed the MK by giving it less hipfire accuracy. The gun's still a beast, and even if that, I'll still in scrims carry a shotgun and just an MK, no SMG. Even maybe having no shotgun in competitive matches is the wave, because lots of pro players are doing that right now. Age and genetics will help you get better aim. That's the thing people say, and I really think that's the biggest thing holding them back is their mindset. Just like the guys over at E-Athlete Labs, they talked about in a video, one of the biggest things that hold people back is their excuses and how they view their practice. No matter who you are, I really do think that cracked aim comes with practice and finding out the best routine for yourself. Lots of aiming comes down to having patience, just like I said, but also having good click times. The discipline on that is super important, so no matter if you're on controller, keyboard, and mouse, learning how to press that button faster and faster while being disciplined over the weeks or months of practice will definitely help improve your aim. Just a reminder, when it comes to any single game that has bloom, to be a good aimer, never try to account for bloom in your aim. Always aim at the center of the target you're looking at, maybe it's their head or maybe it's their body, with any gun as you shoot a player. Accounting for bloom is like trying to win the lottery, you'll never guess it. Don't forget that sliding while holding your AR or shotgun will decrease the hipfire accuracy, which will in turn make you hit bigger shots. Most definitely an aim tip, especially as sliding around corners will help you out a ton. Most of the time, even from really long range, I never look to aim down sights and spray my face off. Controlled bursts are usually the play to hit more shots. Depending on the gun I have will determine when I hold it down and when I don't. Even with the MK from deep, long range, you don't want to spray the whole time. Always remember to aim down your shotgun in a build fight, especially when the other player is not looking at you. Even one split second of aiming down sights while they run up will get you more damage. Aiming down your shotgun was one of the things on Fortnite that took me a little bit to learn, but once I understood when and when not to do it, it completely changed the fight around because I would always be getting a little bit more damage than they would do to me. For controller players, one of the most textbook ways of practicing your aim is to work on shooting targets with no aim assist. I wouldn't recommend doing this in real games because you're going to waste way too much time and be more frustrated. Warming up in creative will definitely do the job. When you get the first beam on a player, always practice hitting headshots with the first couple shots. This is what will really separate players in a mid-game fight because you will have such a massive damage advantage going into it. No matter what it is, even a sniper, I always recommend to do that. Is crouch spamming worth it? Crouch spamming is a strat in Fortnite as well as in other games that I see pro players do when they're aiming from far away. I'm almost certain when I say that I don't really think there's any real advantage when doing this. But if you were doing it in a bloom fight, it definitely makes you harder to hit. If you were wondering what I do personally, I always crouch spam a ton as I shoot. It's definitely one of those things where if you can get adjusted to it, it will make you harder to hit, which will in turn make me want to use it. You definitely want to be prepared for enemies in Chapter 3 to slide around every single corner and every nick and cranny. What you want to do, and even what I do most of the time, I'd say like 90% of the time, is walk around Ben's head level. This is the best way to get max damage shots in Valorant, Fortnite, and almost any single game. But if there's a guy rushing you or something, you sense he's sliding around, just be prepared to look at the ground. On the contrary, not going around corners, but more so editing, absolute best practice, and anyone will tell you this, is to complete any edit on Fortnite, but always line up the edit so that by the time you complete the edit, you're lining yourself up for a headshot or even lining yourself up for the least amount of movement possible after you confirm the edit to hit more shots and be more consistent. Sounds pretty stupid, but a way you can practice aim training is the lobby before you actually hop onto the battle bus. You can find guns around the island and just practice shooting random people. Even for a couple of seconds every game, it will add up over time. You get some free aim practice in, but by the end of the session, it can add up to be a little bit rather than just nothing at all. If you're half dead while doing it, I wouldn't even bother though, because it's not worth it. On controller, to make sure you have good sense, try to find one thing in creative or in a real game to track that doesn't have aim assist. Run around the object, move in any direction to track it, and this is how you get a good feel for your sense without the aim assist helping you. Then when the aim assist actually does help you, you'll notice a massive improvement. This is a strat that people have been doing a really long time, so if you don't know this, I would recommend maybe changing it around just a little bit. When you practice your aim, try to go completely out of your way to fight as much as you possibly can. Being surrounded in the heat of the moment with lots of players around you will get you adjusted to playing under pressure and hitting more shots when the time matters. Right there, that's the most optimal situation. If you're a controller player, chances are if you don't play claw and you don't play with paddles, so essentially you're holding the controller like a normal person, your aim is going to look really jerky in fights simply because you can't jump and move your right analog stick at the same time. If you change around your jump binds and some things, that's definitely a step in the right direction to being more optimal. This tip is to check out the claw tutorials that I have on my YouTube channel. Some are going to be linked down below. Or if you have the money, you could try buying a controller with paddles. Most pros, I do believe, use paddles instead of playing claw. If all else completely fails, you don't want to do any of that, then it's all good because at least you put the binds to the most optimal they can be where you feel the most comfortable. These structures right here are in a lot of places, specifically in shifty shafts. You can shoot through these wooden walls that have the gaps in them and line up shots. This isn't really the best aim tip, so to speak, but it's something that came in mind because I feel like not everyone knows this. Even in close quarter fights with SMGs, it's still not a bad idea sometimes to aim down sights in a box so you can hit more shots easier. The more times you can aim down with an SMG, the better it's going to be for you. But it's not always the best play. Be aware of it though, because you definitely want to incorporate aiming as much as possible. At the end of the day, people who win on this game are people who just hit more shots in the box fight or the build fight than the other person. No matter how good you are about anything else on the game, if you don't have aim, you're not going to be a complete player. Back in the day, aiming used to be the #1 priority and building was just kind of down here. Now I feel like aiming is still at the same spot, but building is slowly creeping up. If you were a new player, I would definitely practice all aspects, building, editing, and aiming, just like I have in this video, and don't just leave one out and think that you don't need it. 33 building, 33 editing, and 33 aiming. You know that leaves the last tip to use code KenBeans. Did that just perfectly. In all seriousness, that's the best way to support your boy. I really do appreciate it because these videos take a very long time to make. Leave some comments down below for the next 100 tip video because I honestly have no idea what it's going to be. If you liked either of the sweatshirts, whether it was the pink or blue one, the link to my merch site is going to be down below. Check out Buff, first link in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces. Peace.